think you guys can hear me. Okay, cool. Ready? Cool. Well, I didn't hear a sound, so I hope you guys did. Great. And there's no other point shown this video except that it's cool. So if you looked at it and thought, oh, this is cool, then it's kind of reaches point. But it's made partly by AI, and we think it's a cool video, so we put that in. Some introductions. My name is Joan, and I've been in the data field for 11 years. I've worked for RTL 7.5 years, and been a manager for 3.5 years. I am a manager of a team of 13 specialists, which I'm really proud of. And I work for the Academy of RTL. And what that is, I will talk about a little bit later. But with the Academy, I work with Nela here. She's the data engineer. We worked together for 3.5 years, something like that. And she will do a longer introduction a little bit later. So this is RTL. I hope you know it. And if you don't, I won't judge you. But we're known for our TV channels, our VOD product Videoland, and also Buienradar, because it's the Netherlands, it rains a lot, so you would like to know when you have to carry your umbrella. And we have a sales house, that's the Ad Alliance part, who does a lot of partnerships with all the smaller logos you see on the screen. What are we going to talk about today is how we make the biggest impact through technology. And what are you going to do is listen and work out a little bit, because we're going to ask a question and maybe ask you to raise your hand. And I would ask you to do that with your non-dominant hand today, because normally you click a lot with your mouse. Use your other hand. It would be a good workout today. So how do we create impact? So the first question I want to ask, who has an iPhone? Okay, and who has an Android? Well, it's kind of 50-50, that's nice. So I was thinking about buying a new phone, because my phone is like 5 years old, I have an iPhone. And I wanted to do some research. And there's kind of two flavors, right? iPhone or Android. And so I start with Android. Why would I buy an Android phone? You have a lot of free apps. I found out it's good value for money. The UI is customizability. Well, don't know how to pronounce that. And I was, okay, that's great. So I found out the reasons why I would buy an iPhone again. It's an iPhone. It's 100% why people will buy an iPhone. And even though it's kind of, I see a yes, that's why I bought an iPhone. It's kind of a joke, kind of, this slide, but it holds some truth, right? Because most of the people I talk to owns an iPhone, especially a mother who bought a phone like 3 weeks ago. She is kind of at an age that she doesn't learn things that fast anymore. So, and all of her sisters, all of her friends have an iPhone. So the first thing is, where do I get my new iPhone? That's her question. And if I look at RTL, most of the RTL employees have an iPhone. Even though the Android is becoming a little bit more popular, I found out through ChatGPT. But still, if I wanted to make impact, if I want to develop something, it would be wise to focus on iOS, because that's what people know and uses. And so they are much like my mother, who doesn't want to learn total new phone, how it works, and kind of scares her a little bit, to be honest. And scares me too, because I would buy an iPhone as well. To stick to the kind of the Apple theme, this is a quote from Steve Jobs. You can read it, but I also highlight the most important thing. as innovation is saying no to 1,000 things, because I would like to do everything, but I have to sleep at some point to carry, make sure my son has something to eat. So that I don't have the time, the energy to do everything. So we have to focus on some things. And you have to choose the things that you focus on and that can make the biggest impact within RTL. So now I'm going to give the word to Nela, who's going to speak about how we do it at RTL.
I'm Nela. Yeah? Good. And, well, whether you like Apple or not, and whether you like Steve Jobs or not, I think it's fair that we all agree on the fact that he did create massive impact through technology. And what actually constitutes impact, and how could we, people who are not going to revolutionize the technical industry maybe, how are we going to do that? So let me tell you a little story. Around 12 and a half years ago, I started my career in IT as a .NET developer in a small, well, medium-sized software company. And what you need to know about this company is that it used to be well known in this area that's called the Silicon Valley of Romania. It used to be well known for its very high quality standards. So it was difficult to be able to get a job in there. I think still to this day, my internship was the most difficult to get into as a result. But anyone familiar with Uncle Bob's Clean Code? Yeah? Well, it's pretty much what it says. It's about clean code, and that was our Bible. And we would have to eat design patterns for breakfast. And even sometimes we would get tested out by our more senior colleagues on practices, on good practices, pen and paper, the whole thing. Well, we used to do outsourcing, and as a result, you would have to develop functionality for quite a long while and then deliver this functionality to the client. So already from this story, I hope you know that we had very good quality standards, we had review practices, we had the latest and greatest technology that was available at that time. When you would get a request for a feature, you'd implement it sometimes maybe for sprints on end because it was a big feature, and then deliver it in production to the customer. And imagine my surprise when sometimes I would just pour my heart into this, right? Blood, sweat, and tears, as you sometimes do as a developer, to make sure you have the quality, the standards that your colleagues will keep you up to, only to find out later that this functionality is not used by the customer. Anyone had this before? The frustration, right? Yeah. So if you think about it, we use the best technology available. We use the greatest approach in coding. Did we actually create impact? And again, if you're in outsourcing, you think, well, this is kind of how far my responsibilities go. So the customer is responsible to make sure their own people use the technologies. Fast forward 9.5 years onwards, I joined RTL as a data engineer this time. And after several steps of database development, database administration, and now data engineering, I no longer do outsourcing. Now my stakeholders are my colleagues, and my clients are my colleagues. So how do I create the greatest impact for my colleagues? Now we'll go to what Joan promised you, which is a bit of workout. And by show of hands, or yell if you want, there's not a lot of people to bother if you want to yell. Tell me if you recognize the following. Anyone? DBT? Oh yeah, airflow fans, great. Tableau users, great. a lot of data scientists, data engineers, Databricks, yeah. AWS fans, yes, some. And also, it's kind of telling also, right? It looks like a snowflake, must be a snowflake. Also looks like Python. VS Code, massive fans. Storage Explorer, because otherwise Azure actually has the name Azure in the logo. It would have been too easy. And last one. I was hoping I would get you with this one. This is Iceberg. So, good news, bad news. Good news, most of you recognize most of them. So you passed, no pen and paper this time, but the test is successful. Bad news, you know who usually doesn't recognize most, if any, of these logos? It's our stakeholders. So this is one of the reasons why we created the RTL Loves Technology Academy. And we didn't create it so that your stakeholders can learn some logos. That would have been really easy, and we were probably done within a day of training. But we actually created it because we wanted to make sure that the narrative is changed from, well, how do I get this solution in this format, to what is possible? And what else do we have in a company that we could use? Who is using what? This started as an initiative of the data unit, which was around 4.5 years ago, and it was initially called the Data Academy. It's an initiative that started bottom up. So Joan is actually one of the founding mothers, persons, who was there to create it. And our initial idea was to make sure that we have a way to get the entire company more data-driven. Later on, around a year ago, we actually merged this initiative to another one that had the same purpose but was from within the tech unit, and now it is called RTL Loves Technology. Well, I know you're not here to hear about the history, so how did we actually do it? How do we create more impact within the company? Well, I'll summarize it in a sentence, is by doing less. And going back to what Steve Jobs said, is by actually focusing more and doing less. I'm sure in some of your companies you have this experience that you have scattered initiatives of let's do a training here, let's do a training there, and then it kind of does not fly. And people don't recognize potentially who is doing this training, who is it for, what's the purpose. So how do you build a sort of a logo inside your own company to build this trust and to get people to come to these sessions? So we focus our attention on three main things. The first is igniting curiosity. Then we make sure we facilitate education. And also, we want to enable discovery. So how do we do that? How do we ignite curiosity for the rest of our colleagues? Because like Joan mentioned, this is RTL, this is a media company, right? It's not a technology company. And you can imagine that maybe the news department has a different interest than the content department, than the tech department. So one of the things that you might expect is that indeed we created sessions. And we create several types of sessions. One is internal Inspire session, we call them. And those are the sessions that we do for our colleagues. If you see there in the, I don't know what's right and what, this is right, in the corner, this red room, we're lucky enough that inside RTL there's an actual cinema, so we do sessions in the cinema, and we invite people from within the tech unit, but also from outside of it, to tell their stories of how they use technology, what else are they experimenting with, also stuff that they're passionate about, which they can share with the rest of the colleagues, and maybe they can benefit from it. And we always make sure, after testing things out and learning this the hard way, we always make sure that it's accessible for everybody. Meaning that before we have a session, we sit together with the speaker and we do what we call a dry run, where we go through the session and thinking with the hat of somebody who's never heard about this topic, would I be able to make sense of it? Do I take something useful out of this? Not only that, we also have guest speakers from outside the company to share their story if there's something interesting they want to tell us. So if any of you has a good story and wants to present in the cinema, come to us after the session. And then we do also external Inspire sessions such as this, because we want to share this passion that we have for making impact and hopefully have more of you inspired to do it. Now, what you might not necessarily expect is that we also try to shake things up and make other things available inside the company. How do we do that? Well, we try to experiment a bit. And this is Joanne's work again, because she came up with the idea somewhere last year after being invited to a podcast. Well, wait a minute, we're a media company. Don't we have some equipment that we could record an internal podcast? Turns out we do. So we created our own podcast. And the beauty of it is that you don't have a specific time where you have to be in the session, and you don't have to ask for a recording from somebody afterwards. You can just listen to it while you're working in the background. We aim to keep the episodes short, around 30 minutes, and also have it more of a story about how people use technologies in their technology in their day-to-day job, how it evolved over time. There are people who have been with the company for a very long time, so sometimes it's also great to see how did things evolve in their department over the last 10, 12, 15 years. The use of data, the impact that it has in their day-to-day job, and hopefully more people can then come forward and ask about doing this. And we also sometimes play around with it, because what you see there in the corner, the robot version of us, is an experiment we did with one of our internal data scientists, where, well, she had our voices cloned by an AI, and then generate a conversation, and then have this AI talk to each other and see if it sounds anything like us, and if people would recognize that it's not us talking. Turns out it was quite easy to do that, because I sounded extremely British a few minutes into it.
It's like a dream come true, right?
It's like a dream come true, indeed. Sounded much better, the AI version of me. And then have the rest of the conversation around the fact of challenges of what we see in the future, especially as a media company, of how these technologies will evolve and what the impact will be. And then we're talking about facilitating education. Now, how do we facilitate education? Again, what you might expect is, yes, we are in collaboration with the people and learning department. So we do make sure that if somebody requests for a specific training, we help them out, external or internal. If somebody comes and asks, I want to learn about Tableau because I'm going to use Tableau from now on, we make sure there's somebody who can do that. But this is more of a pool approach, and you might know that probably also in your companies, not a lot of people will come and ask, like, you know what, I heard there's this technology and I want to learn about it, unless they absolutely have to use it. So our solution for that was, again, an experiment, which was, well, to put it nicely, just be in people's spaces. So what we did is we created a workshop of generating Christmas cards with AI, just so you have the experience of doing it, put a few laptops with the tooling available on it, And this was during the Christmas market that happens once a year, and there's no way to that market than through this hallway. So you couldn't pass us. And the reason why is that we know that most of us as technical people, we're not necessarily all that comfortable with talking to people, being social. Hey, you know what technology I've been using lately? So if we are there and we just invite people with to do something that they might not have tried yet, then it's going to they're going to say yes. And then we're talking about enabling discovery, and how do we do that? Again, this is a new project that we're happy with, and we're it's quite new, so we'll see how it works. But we created an actual experience room. I don't know if it looks like much from where you're standing, it might not, but we're happy with it. We thought dream big and start small, so we got a small room, we branded it with the RTL Loves Technology logo, and we create experiences. So you see some VR glasses in there that we make available, but also we create challenges to try and gamify it a bit. It's next to the game room. If you see some people in the background, they're playing, so it kind of makes sense. And we're still doing it. For example, next week, we're going to start a challenge about an AI who can guess your accent. So the challenge is come, speak to the AI in English, see if it guesses your accent. And that's the way that we do these three main things. And on some of your faces, I see the question of KPI coming up. Probably those of you who are project managers and you're thinking, okay, sounds all nice and fancy, but what about the KPIs? And then Joan will tell you how we quantify this.
Kind of wondering how you read the KPI in their faces, but okay. So I want to talk to you about some numbers that we're proud of that we have today and how we measure them. So the first one is the Inspire session. Like Nela mentioned, we have an amazing cinema room in the building. And I think it holds like 50 people.
Yeah.
And we said to ourselves, if it's like full, then we're happy with the session. No, it's never full. But I think half, so 25 people, but we do a hybrid way. So it's also 25 people online. So we say to ourselves, that's good for now. But we definitely want to learn more and see if we can get the cinema all packed. And a little baby, the podcast, it has an average view of the page of 250 people from the 700 that work at RTL, which we're really proud of, because some posts don't get that much. And I think the most important thing is that people come up to us, talk about it. If we ask people, they're really honored that they're being asked. And we just have 7 episodes right now, so we're really proud of this and definitely want to continue. Third one are the workshops. We limit people for the workshop because you cannot have a workshop for 50 people, that's too much. But the most important thing is that the departments are very different. So we have people from the content department, from the design, from marketing, and we have at least 5 different departments during a workshop, which is pretty cool. And the last one is the experience room, which we don't have numbers on, because it's kind of a walk-in and experience, and we also have a job, so we don't look at the room the whole time. But we try to quantify a little bit by doing slots at a day, and then you can register for the slots and come in, and we can also gather feedback that way. So we're trying, and it's still a proof of concept. So I think end of March, we kind of have to prove it's something. But I'm very positive about it, so that's really cool. So that's kind of our story, how to make the biggest impact at RTL through technology. If you have any questions, I would say come up to us and we'll answer them. I really appreciate you all for being here, listen to the story. I think that's it.
Yeah. And we hope you're inspired to go on Monday to the office and be like, you know what? We're starting an academy right now. So If you do, let us know, connect to
Yes.
us, and maybe we can share ideas on
Definitely.
how else to do things
Yes.
to get people inspired. Thank you.
Thank you.